Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, in this tutorial, this is going to be section 3 of my C++ tutorial. We'll be focusing on the repetition structure, which are also known as loops. We'll be focusing primarily on the while, the do while, as well as the for. Okay. If this is the first video of mine you've seen, you might want to go back and check out my other two, and they'll show you how to get everything set up. Because we're going to be using Visual Studio. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, in my other videos, if this is the first one, jump back and it'll show you how to get everything set up, okay? So, we're going to go ahead and get started with the first thing on our list, which is the while loop, okay? So, for a while loop, we're going to do a pretty simple one just to kind of get the idea of what it does in your head. So, we're going to say int x equals 0, and then to do a while, you just literally type while x is less than 10, okay? So, you're using relational operators like we did with if. And then you just have to use squiggly brackets. And now we're just going to see out x and del. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and run this, and I'll kind of talk the way through what it's doing. But you'll notice there's going to be an error, okay? It's printing 0 on and on, okay? So that's no good. And you might be like, well, why is it doing this? Well, it's in a loop, and it's relying on x being less than 0. But x is never changing. So that's why it's infinitely printing, okay? So to fix that, we're going to want to do x equals x plus 1. And you could also do x plus plus or x plus equals 1, okay? But I'm just going to use this, and because we'll get into those with loops in a little bit, okay? So now when we run this, you'll see the correct output, which will just be the numbers 0 through 9. So you'll see here it printed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, just kind of the logic behind why it's doing this. So x starts at 0, and it's saying, okay, 0 is less than 10, so I'm printing out x, which was 0. So now x equals 0 plus 1, so now it's 1. 1 is less than 10, true. See out 1. And then 1 plus 1 is 2, okay? And it does this up until 9. So when 9 is less than 10, true, it sees out 9, and then it says 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 is not less than 10, so that's false. So it quits running in the loop. Okay? So that's going to be the basics for this loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to comment this off just in case anyone is saving these just kind of as reference material. I'll comment all of this off. I'm not going to comment all of them off just because it can add up. And I'm going to try to keep it somewhat contained. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do a kind of a more serious while loop. And so to do this, we're going to do a cout, enter a test score, 999 to quit, okay? So how this is going to work is we're going to see into a variable that we have to create called int test score. We're going to say cout, enter a test score, 999 to quit, and then we're going to do cin test score. Okay? So the while loop condition is going to be while test score is not equal to 999, and it's going to do the instructions until 999 is entered, okay? And this is called, again, a sentinel value, and you always want to use a sentinel value that's safe for what you're working with. Like, if we were measuring temperatures in Florida, it wouldn't be safe to use a sentinel value of 80, okay? Or if we were measuring the temperature of a drink, it wouldn't be safe to say like 30 degrees. You want to use something that's completely, there's zero chance that that's going to be entered unless they want to exit the loop. So we're going to say while test score is not equal to, again, exclamation equals to, 999, and then we're going to do brackets, okay, and now we're going to start to type the conditions. So let's say if test score is greater than or equal to 90, because we don't want to just say if it's greater than 90, because a 90 is still going to count as an A. So we're going to say cout A, good job, okay? And we're going to end the line here, and instead of rewriting this a bunch, let's just copy and paste this, okay? So just hit Control V, Control V. We're just going to do it 3 times, and then just add in else's in front of these statements. We're just going to revise the code a little instead of rewriting. And just make each of these, make it 90, 80, and 70. And then we'll just change the grade to a C, and then finally a B. And we're also going to add in one else statement that's going to say, see out, try again next semester. And we're going to end the line there as well. Okay? Now, if I run it like this, what I experienced in the first loop with the infinite loop would happen again because I'm not changing test score's variable value. So what we need to do here is we're just going to copy this question, okay? And we're going to hit Control V down here within the loop, okay? And we're going to go ahead and hit Control F5 to run it. So enter test score 999 to quit. Let's say I got a 75. C, good job. And then if I say I got an 87, good job, and then a 99 earned me a good job again. Okay? But then let's say I enter a 64, it says try again next semester, and then finally the sentinel value, which is 999, will exit the loop. Okay? So you'll see that here that you get a lot more power through repetition structures, especially when you mix them with structures such as the selection. Okay? So you're going to want to remember that. And we're actually going to use this exact same kind of program for the next type of loop, which is called the do while. Okay? Now the difference between the two, the while is a pre-test, which as you can see in the code, it tests the condition before the loop. Now the do while, on the other hand, is a post test, which means it tests the condition after the loop. So for the do while, the first run is guaranteed, and I'll actually first run guaranteed. Okay? So you have to remember that when you're coding and what you're trying to get. So we're going to go ahead and we're just simply going to revise this to make it a do while instead of restarting. Okay? So first thing that you're going to want to do is copy this and hit Control X. And go down right below the squiggly bracket that matched the while loop. Just hit Enter and Control V and then add a semicolon. Now right above it, just hit Do. Okay? And that's you just revise it to make the pre-test loop a post-test loop. Now, what you're going to see happen is, let's say I'm going to run this and I'm going to enter 999. I don't even want to calculate a test score. They were just so bad, I don't even want to look at what they got. Well, it's going to show me anyway, even though I don't want to see. And then I'll have to enter 999 again to quit, okay? So, let's run this. Alright, I just got Timmy's paper and he got a 15. So I just want to quit because it's the last time in the semester and he did it again. So 999 Timmy got, and it still says that he got a good job even though that's not the case. He did not do well. So now we have to enter 999 again to get it to quit. So you always have to remember, even if you type in the sentinel value, it's still going to print the result, okay? But other than that, I'll run this once more. It's the exact same as the while. But so like if we got a 75, it still says a C, an 86, and a 98, and then a 53. All the results are the exact same, okay? It's just a matter of how it's testing. So you're going to want to keep that in mind when you're programming, and depending on what sort of problem you're approached with. So I'm not going to comment this off. If you are, just pause the video, and then you can comment it off, but I'm trying to keep this to a minimum, so I'm just going to backspace it, and we're going to jump in with a for loop, okay? So a for loop is my personal favorite when it comes to loop structures. And it's pretty easy to do. It's actually, I think, the easiest. All it is we're going to say for int x equals 0, x less than 3, and then x plus plus, okay? So you'll see here that you're doing everything you did with a while. You initialize the variable right here. You give a condition, which was done here, and it's done here in the for, and then you increment, okay? So now we're just going to do a cout x endo. And we'll go ahead and run this once. And see, it still prints 0, 1, 2. Okay? So a for loop is basically the exact same as the while. It's just a matter of how you want to use it. And I'm going to show you guys a problem where a for loop would be better suited than a while loop, okay? But first, we're going to talk about something called a nested loop. So, a nested loop is a loop within a loop, and you can do this with any of the loops. I'm just going to show it with a for because hopefully you're getting a grasp of what the loop really is. So you have to do brackets and then type int y equals 0 while y is less than 3, and then y plus plus. C out, and we're going to show them the x and the y value, and we're going to do a space. And then end, and we're not going to end the line yet, okay? Because we want to end the line actually within the x loop, okay? And I'll talk you guys through this once we get it running, okay? So, x is equal to 0, x is less than 3, so it goes to this loop. Y is equal to 0, y is less than 3, so it's going to say 0, 0, y plus 1, so is 1 less than 3? Yes. But x hasn't changed because it hasn't got up into the outer loop. Right now it's in the inner loop, okay? So we'll go ahead and run this because it's easier to see and then explain. Okay, so you'll see here it printed out 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2. And then y was equal to 3, so it exited this loop, ended the line, jumped to the next line, and we changed y back to 0, okay? So then x was 1, it jumped back in the loop, and then it prints out 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, exits the loop again, ends the line, and then we reset y again, okay? So that's kind of how you got this to print out, this sort of matrix, okay? And we're going to use these a lot more in, I think it's section 5 with arrays. They're very useful there. And for loops, I kind of feel like those are very useful in any scenario, such as this one I'm about to show you, okay? And we'll comment this off, just because nested loops are very important to coding. So we'll go ahead and comment all this off, and then I'll just scroll down again, and we'll start talking about the next sort of, I gotta comment this one off too. Oops. Okay, so now that all that is commented off, we're gonna go down here. And this final for loop, what we're gonna do is we're gonna declare a variable called tests, okay? And then we're gonna also declare one called test grade. And then we want a sum, int sum equals 0. And we're gonna actually float in average. We're gonna use some different variable types here. So we're going to do a cout and ask the user, how many tests would you like to enter? Give them a prompt, and then we're going to see that into tests, okay? That's going to be a integer number, and that's going to be how many tests they have that they want to get an average for. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a for loop. Int x is equal to 0, and we're going to do x, or we're going to say while x is less than tests, okay? So that way, if they want to enter 20 tests one day, all they have to do is say 20, and then it'll ask them 20 times, and it'll compute the average. But if they only want to enter 5 a different day, they only have to do 5. We don't want to hard code a value into here. And of course, we're going to do the x plus plus. And then brackets again. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say cout, enter test grade, and then semicolon, a cin statement, and we're going to see that into test grade. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to start accumulating a value, and to accumulate you have a variable set to 0, which in this case is sum. So we're going to say sum plus equals test grade, okay? And that's the same as saying sum is equal to sum plus test grade. The sum variable is just accumulating, so right now it's 0, but if the first kid got 100, the new value for that's 100. And then let's say Timmy came up and he got a 15 again. It'll be 100, well, sum equals 100 plus 15. Okay? So that's how we're going to do that. And then underneath that, what we're going to do is we're going to calculate the average, which, like we learned in a previous video about, I think it was in section 1, is when you divide an int and an int, you're going to get an integer value. So we're going to have to use the static cast command, and we're going to want to cast the sum we're going to want to make it a float. And then we're going to divide it by tests, okay? And then we're going to do a final cout statement. The average for this test was, and we're going to point to the average memory location. Okay? So this is actually going to be a pretty cool grading, and, well, not a grading, but an average finder, okay? So we're going to go ahead and Control F5, I mean. Okay, how many tests would you like to enter? We want to enter in, we'll do, I'm going to do an odd number just so that way the static cast actually does something. We're going to say 7, excuse me. Enter test. So, first kid got 100, Timmy came up and got a 15 again, a 97, a 45, a 68, and 96. And then, I think finally, an 87. I didn't do that. And see, so it static cast sum to a float value, and it recorded 72.5714. Okay, let's go ahead and close this window out. And that's going to be it for the loops section. So just hopefully watch this over, and if you want, go ahead and just save these text documents maybe so you can reference them. But that's going to be it for this video. Be sure to check out my other ones, okay? And thanks for watching.